여러분들은 지금 2020
That
LCK
was
Spring
Gen.G
Split
versus
Afreeca
Afreeca game number 2, and Gen.G managed to even out the series by getting that game number 2.
치열한 경기가 계속되고 있습니다. 리라님 어떻게 보셨습니까?
So how was that game, Lyra? It was a very exciting one, and I really like seeing Senna Tompkins comp in bot lane because their goal is so vivid, you know? They really want to go hard in bot lane. At the same time, Afreeca took Olaf and Zoe. So even though Taric and MF is really weak in laning phase, they wanted to get a lot of things done around the mid lane. But you know, this game actually comes down to just one phrase, mid difference. So let's check out the highlights we prepared, how everything started to snowball throughout the whole game and ended up this kind of huge difference in between the mid laners. Why Zoe was getting countered by LeBlanc. So BDD's LeBlanc was indeed really strong, but I mean every LeBlanc in LCK is so dominating. So how? Let's see how actually Zoe got defeated by LeBlanc so hard. But first, let's check out the ruler life comp with Senna and Tompkins. So Tompkins started with the support item. So it was really smart because both Senna and Tompkins could have time to kind of scale up. So they both actually gave up most of the CS. But after this, even though Senna was just focusing on getting these souls, both life actually instantly backs to the base. So here, life actually just sells the support item backs and buys the Doran's shield. So Senna was able to gain that extra money coming from life farming during the very early phase. So that was not a mistake. So maybe that could be, but this actually looked really smart because ruler could get that extra gold with that, especially with that cannon wave, and then life went to the base and sold his support item and bought the Doran shield. So because we don't have any interviews right now, so we will not be able to check this out in detail with life. But I mean, he's one of the most intelligent players in LCK. I believe this is another very intended and a strategy that Life and Gen.G players prepared. So we are looking forward to finding it out from the players later on, hopefully. And now let's get back to why everything transpired in mid lane. So All In came back to lane with TP. So TP, actually this spell is about focusing on the laning phase. He had to have a lot of pressure and priority. However, All In is all the time just helping out Dread in the jungle. So instead of just having huge priority and putting a lot of pressure up against LeBlanc, actually Zoe was so focused on helping Dread in the jungle. So he used a lot of mana clearing out that wave, and All In backed once again to the base. Not long after he came back with TP. So while All In was gone on the mid lane, BDD was able to kind of roam to the top side, and Gen.G players tried a 3-man top turret dive attempt. So, well, having too many times away from that mid lane is one of the biggest problems. So, and then after LeBlanc went to the top side to help the turret dive, All In rotated to the dragon instead of pushing lane hard. So earlier we checked out how Life and Ruler was so smart with the base timing and stuff. Well, All In was not really sharp making his decision. So in the end, he ended up giving that kill over to Rascal and also assist to BDD.
저 같은 경우는 이제 기브 앤 테이크를 굉장히 좋아하는데
So
르블랑이 탑에
League of
갔고
Legends is all
거기서
about
갱플랭크가
give and take, you know.
아꼈으며
So
갱플랭크 궁이 이제 미드에 썼잖아요. 그래서 이제
LeBlanc
기브 앤
went to the
테이크,
top
젠지
side, so
만의
Gangplank
상체
was
싸움이
able to
되지
hold
않나
on
생각이
to his ultimate.
네.
So
이렇게
later
해서
on,
젠지가 이
Gangplank
경기를
was
가져가는
able
모습
to
함께
activate that
보셨습니다.
ultimate to
아까
finish that Zoe
당당하게
on the
미드
mid
차이라고
lane.
선언을 했습니다만 POG는
Then
과연
let's check
어떤
out who
선수가
will be the
받게
POG
되는지
for
한번
game number 2.
보시겠습니다. 그분이 오십니다.
BDD
르블랑.
successfully
르블랑이라는
outplaying
챔피언 자체가
and
고승률이
dominating
나오는데
mid lane.
저는 약간
by
이유가 있다고
himself.
생각을 해요. 뱀픽에서부터 르블랑을 마크하는
The
챔피언이
reason
잘
why
안 나온다고
LeBlanc is
생각을
having a
합니다. 르블랑이
really
나왔을
high
때
win rate in LCK
리산드라,
currently is
말자,
because there's
라칸
no
같은
other
챔피언이
champion that
나왔을 때
the
마크가
opponents are
되면서
taking to
르블랑이
kind of
굉장히
counter
이익이 있는데
LeBlanc,
지금 같은 메타에서는
such as
라인전의 주도권도
Lissandra.
취하고
But
그 주도권
right
있는
now, this is a
픽들한테
meta
볼 수가
where we
없기
need a
때문에
lot of
르블랑이
lane
하기 쉽지 않나
priority.
생각합니다.
So
네,
LeBlanc is
이제
on the top of the
르블랑을
tier list
하는
in the
선수들도
current
선수들이지만
situation.
이쯤 되면 챔피언이 정말 성능이 좋은
So,
게 아닌가 그렇게
Players
보시는
that play
분들도
LeBlanc, I mean, they
있으시겠습니다.
really
하지만
piloted
조이도
well, but at the
그랬다시피
same time,
조이가
right now,
완전
LeBlanc, the
필승차가
champion
아니냐,
itself,
그런
has
말들도
a huge
많았습니다마는
power.
하는 선수에 따라 계속해서 다른 모습의 양상이
So
나왔었죠.
BDD,
그렇기 때문에 계속해서
with no
LCK 에서
doubt to
르블랑이
pick up
강한
the
모습을
POG for
보일지는,
game number
앞으로의
2.
경기를 좀
So
지켜봐야
let's
될
check
것 같습니다.
out
그리고
what will
아프리카
happen
같은
in game
경우에는
number 3, the
한
decider
경기를
match
지게
Gen.G
되면
versus
계속해서
Afreeca.
선수 교체를
In Afreeca, they
하는
always
모습을
tend to
보면서
kind of
좀
sub in
색다른
new
경기
players
스타일을
whenever
많이
they lose a
보여줬었는데요.
game. So they always come back with a
오린
different
선수 같은
style.
경우랑
So
플라이
maybe
선수 같은 경우는
we can
비슷한,
see a different mid
색깔을
laner
갖고 있다고
subbing in
생각을 하지만
for game
정글러들은
number
굉장히 다른
3.
성향을 갖고
And
있어요.
also,
TP 선수는
all
이쪽
in and
저쪽
fly,
움직이면서
well, actually, they have a
색이
very
달라요.
similar
하지만
play
드리블
style,
선수는
but
공격적으로
Spirit and
상대적으로
Dread,
침투하며
they have a
굉장히
very different play style.
맞는
Spirit is very
인물을 되게
experienced, very
최선을
controlled. Dread is
이겨내는
very
약간
aggressive,
경향이 있는데
you know, in
저도 이제
always
다음
counter
판에
jungle.
어떤 선수가
So
나올지 기대가
we
됩니다.
want to find out who
이렇게
will
해서 이
really sub
경기는
in
이렇게
for
마무리가
Afreeca in
되었고요.
game number
마지막
3.
한 경기.
Let's check out
승리를
and
가져가게 될
hop
승리의
on
팀,
over to the
어떤
Rift.
팀이 될지 함께 만나보시죠.
Thank you so much, Jisun, for the Analyst Desk translation once again, and also shout out to Wadid and Lyra, both, you know, first timers for 2020, coming on in here and now running the show themselves. Damn, pretty impressive from these guys. Of course, you guys at home certainly know who Wadid and Lyra both are, both of them spending time overseas before coming back and joining the desk here for the LCK, so we're very lucky to have them. And Spirit, as you can see right there, going to be joining Fly as the double subs come forward from Afreeca, much like the Analyst Desk had predicted.
And just as we were calling for, I think after a game like Game 2, regardless of how the other guys are playing that are not, you know, that are sitting on the bench, you got to give them a chance, as the ones that were actually put out to play did not do their jobs. And so, a bit
Whoa,
better
it's
of
a bit cruel.
Well, I mean, they ended up leading to the game going the way it did. So we are going to have Gen.G back on the blue side here, and that could make for some interesting counter picks for either Fly or maybe even Spirit down there in the jungle. But I don't know. What do you do in this situation? Do you ban away the Zoe? I suppose that is going to be what they're going to go for once again, just like Game 2, or 1 rather.
Yep, Gen.G also going to ban the Elise because Spirit has been playing a lot of it. A big giggle from good old Spirit here, who is always a happy gentleman. It's just, it's pretty hard to wipe the smile off Spirit's face. And hopefully he's going to be able to infect the rest of his team with that jovial attitude.
Hopefully just the attitude, nothing else.
Yeah. Oh, God.
It's
the word infect is
it's
probably a
hard to
dangerous
use the
one
word
these days.
infect nowadays, Sir Atlas.
Yeah, that's true.
But, yeah, I mean, it's true. He
Get those
definitely,
colon Ds in the chat.
Yeah, he definitely, it's D colon, actually.
Oh, sorry, yes. D colon.
You don't want to do colon D because then it's a happy face. Yeah, we're not happy after that. But either way, same strategy used by Afreeca. They get the Aphelios ban out of Gen.G, and they can last ban Ornn here.
You'd hope so. 12 seconds to go. Gen.G will certainly be locking that one in first if it is left available. Afreeca might have a plan into it, but I highly doubt it will be good enough because Ornn is just so broken right now, and it is going to be banned. So thankfully, no fumbles so far in the draft as Gen.G look at the set as the first pick option. taking that away from Keen actually does make a lot of sense, in my personal opinion, because Keen saved a game just because he had so much flanking potential and teamfight power on that pick and was able to take the game into his own hands. Now Afreeca going to choose their bottom lane, most likely. See what the pairing is going to be. They can just lock in the Caitlyn Senna once again if they would like to.
I don't think they want to give Senna Tahm Kench potentially over to the side of Gen.G, so
yeah.
Okay, maybe they say Caitlyn can play better into that. We can get the Caitlyn part of it, maybe try to bait out a Senna pick, and then we'll also get the Jarvan alongside of it. We'll have to wait and see if it does get locked in here. There it is. They're going to deny Clid. While at the same time, 2-1 is Spirit on the Jarvan pick, which, by the way, 34 picks and 21 wins. Jarvan, across the board here at the LCK, is doing quite well.
Well, it is the Senna. Whether it's going to be the Tahm Kench paired alongside it, we'll have to find out, as there we go. And now, a mage support would work out quite nicely here for the Afreeca Freecs. See what they do decide to pair with it. I think matching the sustain could be a decent option. I'd like Nami, personally, but we'll see whether they actually do decide to go for anything like that, or whether it's going to be a solo lane pickup here for Afreeca to try and lock something down. Yuumi being considered, so it does have the sustain options. And we didn't even realize that Yuumi was left available, was banned in game number 2, and it's now Caitlyn Yuumi to be taken towards the bottom lane here for Afreeca. A lot more poke and the sustain options. I like it so much more than what they went for to counteract the Senna Tahm Kench in game number 1.
The MF Taric certainly did not look that great, so I think this is a better option. No doubt they knew that Gen.G were going to move over to the left side here and pick Senna Tahm Kench B2B3, and so they had a plan for it, which I do like. And now, because there's no mid lane picked, unless, Sick gets rotated on down there, they can target even more of BDD's champions away. Already, Zoe and LeBlanc are taken off the board. Azir is another one. Do they go one step further and ban a Galio or something like that? A Syndra? Or maybe just the Gragas away from Clid?
I mean, Syndra, Orianna, 2 picks that fly certainly are generally... is generally wanting to go towards. It's going to be Gangplank taken off the board, though. As you can see, Gen.G are just focusing on options into Rascal's set to try and save him from Keen. Keen likely to be heading towards something like a Kennen here. Certainly has been something that he's defaulted towards in the past. And they could lock that away now and then save mid lane counter pick for Fly. We'll see exactly where they do want to go, because, of course, the set is able to be flexed. Aatrox going to be pretty mono red here for Afreeca, and they are going to lock that one in.
They're going to need some pretty heavy ability power damage. For their last pick in the mid lane is what you would expect. You could also put Keen on a Rise if you want to try to, get something that he's good on that can also go up there. Now, Pantheon was left available because no longer is All In playing today. But that does mean that...
Pantheon Karthus, let's do it, boys.
Gen.G can pick it up.
I mean, Karthus fits so well.
They need magic damage as well.
Yeah. But it's Echo into the jungle. Another option, not going to be the same level of DPS, but is going to be something that will fit into the jungle quite well for Clid and offers that magic damage that they are looking for. Could be Pantheon jungle. I mean, who knows what's going to happen here. Certainly a lot of options.
Probably, I'd like to see BDD. He does play a really nice Pantheon. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see which way they do go. As you mentioned, it could go either way. Orianna is going to be the last pick here. A great ball carrier already on the Jarvan, and it's great at creating space for your Caitlyn, so I don't mind a control mage like the Orianna.
Actually, quite like Afreeca's comp as far as how it's rounded out. The Aatrox will help provide pressure in the early game, and then you've got the late game insurance of the Orianna and the Caitlyn, with Spirit on a jungler that can get around the map early and try and help these lanes that might struggle as the game goes on. Caitlyn's certainly not going to in the early portion, but during that mid game, it's going to be on Keen and Spirit to help baby Afreeca through what can be some difficult times. It's the first time we're going to see the Echo jungle here in the LCK for 2020, I believe. It's been Echo in a solo lane most often. and has seen a lot of bans. Was banned second round of bans in games 1 and 2. So finally getting through, and we'll be able to see what all the fuss is about. Actually, I tell a lie. Game 2, Echo was slipping all the way through, but in game number 1, it was banned. Certainly a lot of physical damage here on the side of Gen.G, and when they're building a lot of lethality with the Senna and the Pantheon, it can be a little bit dangerous to go this all in into physical, but it will mean the Echo will be doing a lot of damage. As over this side, the rounded composition of Afreeca with Fly's Orianna once again back in the mid lane. Fly's been struggling over recent weeks. He had actually a great performance during the Casper Cup, but has certainly fallen off since then. Let's see what Afreeca can do now in the deciding match up against Gen.G. Gen.G wanting to keep their win streak alive and challenge T1 for that top spot here in the LCK. They will be dead even with T1 with a victory here, but head-to-head going to T1, meaning that they will not be able to clinch top spot with a win here.
That is, if they do pick up the win up against Afreeca, that did fight back early on, taking game number 1 and proving to everybody that they can, in fact, make Gen.G bleed, as Gen.G were really just clean up until this moment. They didn't have too many 2-1s, a lot of 2-0 wins.
It's a real Pacific Rim matchup towards the top lane, by the way. Set kind of does look like one of those like machines, and Aatrox, I believe Keen has taken that mecha Aatrox skin. Yeah, he has. So it actually just looks like one of those mech battles from Pacific Rim.
Where does Jarvan fit into this?
I don't know, he kind of looks like one too.
Didn't Pacific Rim 2 come out? Or is it?
Yeah,
is
don't
it
talk about
coming out?
that. I mean, the first one was bad enough, but Pacific Rim 2 was even worse.
I don't. Yeah, so that did come out, is what you're saying?
Yeah, right? It came out ages ago.
I didn't see that, actually.
Over a year ago.
I saw the first one, but not the second one.
At least yeah, it did. It did.
The first one was good, though. You didn't like it?
It wasn't awful, but it was not great.
No, I mean, it's not going to win an Academy Award, but, you know,
I mean, it was good,
enjoyable.
Like, it was a good for-fun movie, you know?
Yeah.
Like, one of those movies that, like, if you're a teenager and you just want to watch, like, monsters battle giant robots, like, it gives you what... It is what it says on the tin, right?
Yeah, there were some moments in there that were, like, a little bit ridiculous, but I felt like it followed the
the whole
movie's
thing is
personality.
a little bit
you know what?
ridiculous.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, they're coming at you with, like, hey, our movie's a bit ridiculous. Like, giant mecha robots coming out of the water, you know? Like, here we go. And they really stuck to it, which is why I think they stayed true and genuine to their plan, which made it more interesting.
we talk about it a lot. Like, obviously, it was memorable.
Yeah, of course.
As that face breaker did not break any faces from Rascal. We'll see how Keen is actually going to be able to do this. He opted in for the Aatrox into the set matchup. We'll see how it is actually going to go as the mid lane. Very even for the moment. It's going to be about whether BDD and Clid can play together, because setting up for a parallel convergence is very possible with the Pantheon. He was able to bait actually really well on that pick, as Ruler taking a lot of damage, but the snare is going to land. And Clid moving on over to Spirit to try and lock this one down. Gets himself the passive proc. Phase Drive Resonance. Going to take a bit of damage there from Spirit, but he's going to keep himself alive and move on out of his jungle. And BDD with the priority. That was out why Clid was able to get into the jungle. Taking the Dark Harvest here as well, so a similar idea to what the Karthus would be doing. And he's going to have a lot of burst damage as this game goes on. Will need to be a legitimate magic damage carry on this team. We'll see how Clid is actually going to be able to utilize that. Skeen underneath the turret is being out-farmed at the moment by Rascal pretty effectively. Good laning phase, the best so far today. As this is harkening back to game number 1. As Mystic's Caitlyn is pretty good, guys.
It is. I mean, if they can get to a point where they're at 4 items, I think they should be absolutely the favorites, as long as, you know, Gen.G don't pick up like Infernal Soul or something like that. Gen.G's composition, way more aggressive, and they have some really nice globals built into it as well. You get Abyssal Voyage, you get the Grand Skyfall out of BDD's Pantheon, and he's playing mid lane too, so He can make moves all around the map, and no doubt they'll be looking to get proactive and aggressive early on in this game, whereas on the side of Afreeca, I think sitting back, farming up, you've got Orianna, Caitlyn, just chill. Just don't fight. And I think you should be having a good time.
I think in this early game, though, Mystic is going to just inherently be pushed up a lot more, as we're going to need some more zoomies out of Jelly. There is no potion available here for Mystic anymore. Life farming pretty damn well on this Tahm Kench at the moment. Currently very even with Mystic's Caitlyn. And despite them having to use their health bars as a resource quite a lot in this lane, it has certainly summed up into a health advantage for the Gen.G bottom lane. So, Senna Tahm Kench is looking real strong, and it's worrying me.
Look at the proactiveness, what I was saying. They're looking already to make moves down here. And
Parallel convergence, that's exactly what we were talking about. Spirit's going to get stunned, the flash from Clid, and that's going to be first blood over to BDD of all people. A very scary start to this game.
It's exactly what they were looking for. Invade the enemy jungle, put down the wards, and find that lonely Jarvan. And how about try number 2?
Yeah, Grand Skyfall. BDD, of course, has a lot of brilliant ways to juggle turret aggro, utilizing his relative invulnerability. And he's going to start this one up. As you can see, Mystic taking way too much damage. But the Yuumi does get back on top of him. This is going to be a free 2 kills, though, as BDD follows up with his second stun. And the double kill for Clid. 2-0-1 now for this Echo jungle, and that is such a huge deal. We already illustrated that he needs to threaten the magic damage, and already. He hasn't even gone back to shop one time yet, and he is smashing this game.
Yeah, already he's having a really nice time. Take a small look at the top lane, but that's not where the majority of the action is going to come from. Big wave pushing into Keen. He'll be just fine on the CS, although he will be a little bit behind. But this is what we were talking about. You have Echo. Now he's going to be nearing level 6. So once they get those ultimates back, they can do this again and again. And it just starts off really badly for Afreeca. Spirit just runs straight into it. He's got the scanner going. He says, hey, if I can find the ward, I should be safe in my jungle. That's not the case when it is 2-on-1. And same thing down here. Mystic and Jelly had to leave, but what Clid did was actually really smart. He came all the way around behind through this left path, behind the Caitlyn and the Yuumi, to make sure that they couldn't just walk away from getting demolished under the turret. He was able to zone for them until BDD came in with the Grand Skyfall. And then the 4-on-2 was just not able to be answered by the side of Afreeca, as Spirit was dead and Fly could not rotate. And already an awesome start for Gen.G, 2,000 gold ahead, 7 minutes in, and their comp being played extremely well.
Yeah, really nicely done, and it's good to see them focusing towards this bottom side so that Ruler and Life don't fall into the same issues that they were having in game number 1 as well. I mean, Mystic and Jelly had the run of the lane entirely, and there wasn't much that Gen.G could do about it. This time around, a very different story, as the Moby Boots already done for BDD. He's going to be jet-setting around this map, and as soon as that man drop comes back in again, Grand Skyfall, you best believe that he is going to be back in one of these side lanes trying to get things done for Gen.G.
Yeah, and you never really imagined that Clid could just hop onto Jungle Echo and already be 2-0-1 this quickly and this dominantly in this game, but he's making this Jungle Echo look like an extremely normal and powerful pick.
Yeah, real comfortable. And I like it. They chose to pick it in the right spot, right? I mean, we were asking for some sort of magic damage. The Gragas, the Elise were both banned away. Evelyn was another choice that they could have gone for. But I think Echo does fit the composition quite well, especially with the gank assist that's offered by the Pantheon, by the set, and the setup for parallel convergence, which is such a delayed CC, is really, really good in this comp specifically. I mean, even the showstopper being thrown into a parallel convergence is super cool, actually, from Gen.G. So they do have a lot of options as this game moves forward. Still, Afreeca do have a composition that can scale relatively well. Not necessarily referring to Keen up here, who is even falling behind on his more early game geared pick. But the Orianna and the Caitlyn, as this game goes on, are going to get stronger and stronger. And you can see as far as farm is concerned, Fly's doing a fine job right here. So it's going to be on Gen.G to continue this level of pressure as this game continues.
Yeah. There's been zero love from the junglers on either side to the top lane, not that I could have seen in this game. And just plainly a 14 CS gap in the top side, Rascal over Keen. So really just, you know, I suppose with the momentum that his team is feeling, he's able to also win his own lane up there, as no doubt after the very early Shelly is taken down, they will make a move down towards the bottom side and try to pick up even more plays for Ruler.
Oh my goodness, this is so bad for Afreeca. As yeah, Ruler gets all of that money. Built over Peacemaker is not going to find the center, who has been just poking this duo out as often as possible. And this turret now, it's not going to be taken just yet at 10 minutes.
Life has more gold than Fly in the mid lane.
Oh my god. It's got more gold than anyone
I like this strategy.
on Afreeca.
Yeah, this is a nice strategy. Senna Tom Kemp's a big fan.
Yeah, he's out farming a Caitlyn as
Yeah.
a Tom Kench.
You thought you could harass him in lane. That was not the case.
With all the gray health that you can utilize in order to mitigate so much damage, it's like, we saw it. I mean, in the last game, it was disgusting, the amount of sustain that they had, even during skirmishes. As this turret is going to take down as many of these minions as possible, and then is going to fall itself. First turret going over to Gen.G. It's going from bad to worse. Checking in on the gold, didn't actually catch just how far ahead this bottom lane is, but we already saw it from that graph earlier on. It is, yeah, quite dire.
Yeah, it's pretty massive. This isn't a case like game number 2 where it's just like one lane being pummeled over and over. It's more of a spread out kind of difference where most of the kills were taken down on the bottom side, but at least Mystic has been able to keep up in CS. But now he...
That's a dead man's plate already for life. Wow. The dead man's plate sound is so loud.
Yeah. I feel like whenever there's not any other sounds going on, you get the really loud game sounds
Yeah.
that come through. But it's going to be hard for Mystic to get near the amount of gold that Ruler and Life are going to have with all the plates that went down on the bottom side. 0 plates for Mystic and Jelly in that bottom lane.
And when it's a Caitlyn lane like this is what we're going to see, the Caitlyn that you definitely do not want, because Mystic is not going to be accelerated like he was in game number 1. It's going to take him a long time to get to his item timings, and we're going to see that trough much earlier and much longer in this game. It's, yeah, this is the worst case scenario for a Caitlyn, who is already at that spot where things are not working out, especially against lethality, which is such a good early game stat. As Ruler and Life continue to just put on the pressure, looking for even more plates in this game. Still a minute and a half before the plates fall off. Rascal trying to get a few more for himself up here towards the top side as well. As Clid is spotting everything out, so Rascal going to be able to grab a couple of them. And this game has gone to hell in a handbasket. Valdez?
Even Clit's getting in there. He's like, feed me some of that gold. I'm the real carry here.
Well, I mean, you're not going to argue with that too much. He's got his Sork boots. He's got his Runic Echoes completed.
Yeah, he's... Wow.
It's a big boy Echo jungle.
He's stacking the damage. And all you have to do is send Clid up here. Jarvan's down on the bottom side, I guess, trying to gank a Pantheon. Not sure about that, but they're just giving up so much gold in the top side now. It feels like the game is like bleeding for Afreeca or something.
Yeah.
It's like they're bleeding out and all the gold is just being picked up by Gen.G along the way.
Yeah, this turret is just going to get taken down. They just sat under that turret for its entire health bar and took it down before all the plates had been removed. So that is, so far, 11 plates being taken here for Gen.G. Not a bad early game, in anyone's opinion.
Yeah, 11 plates is okay.
Yeah.
They're going to get a nice amount of gold in their pockets. They're already 5,000 gold ahead, 14 minutes into the game. And it feels like Afreeca, yeah, 1,200 gold. on that one, as it looks like probably the mid lane plate wasn't actually picked up. Probably just went down to minions, as
Yeah, true.
10 times 120 would be 1,200. But it felt like after the early game went so downhill for Afreeca, they've been so passive and not able to do anything that...
I mean, their comp just doesn't have
know.
too many options if they don't win their lanes, right? Like, what are you going to do as a Caitlyn in the mid game with no completed items yet against a full Umbral Glaive Swifty Boots center and a dead man's plate Tom Kench?
I feel like they could have at least saved their top turret's plates. Jarvan's been down in the bottom lane for like hours. He's still here.
The game's only been going
What?
for 15 minutes, Valdez.
78 hours in the bottom lane. Again. He went down there.
420
He was
hours.
spotted on a ward. He clears it out, and then he stays for another 2 minutes. It's like, okay, I get you're desperate, but
Yeah.
this isn't really going to do anything.
Well, Mystic makes his way back towards this mid lane. He's still farming quite nicely, like you mentioned earlier on, but unfortunately that's not going to be good enough here for the Caitlyn, who's still a recipe completion away from the Infinity Edge for item number 1, but he needs the rapid fire cannon. He needs the next Zeal item. He needs a lot of help getting there as this game continues. Clid coming on over, looking to take down the second Drake of the game. We'll see whether we get yet another Cloud Soul. Could be Infernal Soul though, which is great news, and it is going to be what we're blessed with in 5 minutes' time. The first Infernal Drake of the game will dawn on us in the first match that doesn't have a Cloud Soul involved. Is Mystic going to get snared up? But they're not even going to go for any follow-up damage, as Ruler's probably got a hell of a lot of money in the bank. Actually, the quest just completing for the second time here for Ruler as well.
Yeah. So he picks up a bunch of souls. He feeds a bunch of extra gold to Tom Kench. He gets decent gold himself at the same time, plus a great item in the finished quest item.
Yeah.
And then, you know, he starts actually really doing damage alongside of this big, beefy catfish that he's right next to.
And he's got 63 stacks at 16 minutes. Remember last time we were talking about, the first time we saw this, it was the center had 60 stacks at 20 minutes. Now it's 16 minutes and he's got over that. So really nice stuff over here as Rascal looking for the 1v1 into Keen. Infernal Chain's not going to arm, but so far they have traded pretty much evenly. Umbral Dash not enough to get the second hit of the Q though. So Keen's just going to back on up. Very even as far as that top lane matchup is concerned. And Keen hasn't been able to have an impact so far this game. It's double black cleavers done for both of our top laners. Somewhere an LS groans in Trinity Force.
Groans in Trinity Force. It was funny. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, thanks, man.
As you can tell. Yeah, I felt like this is the way the game was going to go without the proactivity out of Gen.G. But now that they got their lead, they're kind of like, okay, now we can just sit back, wait, pick up Infernal Soul, and we can win the game then. They're slowly chipping away at the turrets at the same time. They're going to take down this outer mid one. Honestly, they could have gotten it without Shelly, or Shirley in this case.
Yeah, Shirley is looking for a secondary charge, and we'll see whether Mystic can actually defend this turret effectively enough. Right now, an anemic Caitlyn probably not enough to deter that if Gen.G really want to go for something here, as they are just going to taxi her towards this outer turret, as that Piercing Darkness is starting to do a lot of damage. Clid looking to steal away this red buff, and I don't know whether Spirit's going to be able to contest, and the answer is, of course, that he cannot. Clid moving on over, his zombie ward is going to be cleared. But now that Gen.G can move into the enemy jungle, they're going to be stifling so much more gold away from Afreeca. Rascal able to avoid so many of these Qs, all three of them going wide there from Keen, so a big trade advantage for the set. Who just parks another minion wave underneath the Aatrox's turret.
Oh,
and Mystic, he has to get the hell out of there. Oh my god, Time Winder going to pull back, gets a slow onto Spirit. Mystic going to survive for the moment. Parallel convergence onto the turret, as this is a real frightening siege for Gen.G. But Ruler was no longer there. Clid's now looking for Keen. And honestly, Clid can just go wherever the heck he wants. Chains are going to be broken. Clid phase diving over in here, and 4 people should be enough to take down This inner turret from Keen not with any response.
Yeah, it really makes you wonder why it took 3 full weeks for the Korean teams to truly pick up Senna, or at least Senna Tom Kench, because obviously this combo is quite strong.
We did see Senna Tom Kench, but it was played with Senna 80 carry on the 10.2 patch rather than this more tanky Tom Kench
And it wasn't
variety.
prioritized nearly as much as it is now, at least by Gen.G.
Yeah.
We saw it, I believe, yesterday
Sandbox
as well.
played it, yeah.
And yeah, it just looks really nice, especially when you can get a decent early game. Your sustain becomes unbelievable, that the enemy bottom lane, no matter what it is, it's Ezreal Yuumi, Caitlyn Yuumi, MF Taric we saw, they just all seem to lose to it in lane as they just scale up and farm
Mystic's
up.
dead, guys. The flash in from Clit is enough to secure it. He had Proto Belt available. Yeah, he's 3-0-1. This is a real scary Echo. Yep, Spirit now going to be his next target. Timewinder not going to find the second hit, but Phase Drive Resonance does go off. And Spirit's going to be expelled from his jungle. And yeah, Gen.G are winning by 8,000 gold. Infernal Drake.
8,000.
17 seconds. It's just ticked over for 20 minutes. This game is mega over. Valdez. Good night, sweet prince.
Doesn't even say anything. Just prior to the setup.
He was sitting on 1,700 gold as well, by the way.
Yeah.
He's going to go back and complete a Lich Bane at this stage. As we're going to be threatening the Infernal Soul at 26 minutes. Let that sink in. It's pretty early soul.
Yeah, I just wonder when Afreeca are going to decide to fight, because they have this team fighting composition with an Aatrox going for flanks, the ball carrier with the Jarvan going in, and Caitlyn having room, but
I mean,
I guess they just have to wait as long as humanly possible.
They need Fly to have at least 2 items, possibly 3, depending on what his next item's going to be. I mean, I'm looking at that thinking Leandri's could be coming in, but I think we all know that it's going to be the Forbidden
Yeah.
Book.
Morellonomicon, anyone?
Yeah, that's probably going to be happening. Definitely not going to be the greatest choice.
Yeah, they have a Senna, so you know, like.
Yeah.
But
I'd much prefer the Leandris.
there are a lot of guys with a lot of health that you could chip away at with the Leandris, and
But Mystic needs 3 items, and he's only halfway there. And that's going to take a really long time. Like, sure, in a world where Afreeca can stabilize this game and somehow wrestle back control of their own jungle, they will be able to eventually get to a point where their composition can begin to outscale. But I just don't think that that world exists.
yeah, it does feel like a game that's gotten too out of control in pretty much every lane. I mean, the mid lane wasn't a direct win, but BDD won bottom lane for his team, so that's essentially all he had to do. He's probably not going to pick up the player of the game for this one. Probably will be Clid, as he was
I would assume
extremely
so.
active and making the Echo jungle look fantastic and well practiced, which is also another surprise, as he's able to dunk on his enemy jungler that was subbed in.
Also a fun champion to watch as well. I just like it when Echo is in meta, but he's taking a lot of damage from Mystic here. Has a Chrono Break to get himself out. Piercing Darkness comes on in there, and no harm, no foul. Clid will just make his way back into the enemy jungle. Or is it his jungle? Not entirely sure. As Life is so tanky. I think he's got his Gargoyle Stoneplate done as well.
Yeah.
He's just a real big boy. As BDD, he can man drop if you would feel like it, but not going to opt into it just yet. As Clid continuing to play pretty fast and loose on the Echo. Half the cooldown of the Chrono Break is once again available. And yep, Gen.G will take their second red buff in their jungle that's on the northern side of the map. And Afreeca going to face check them. Good stun to come forward here as, yeah, World Ender or no, I have a feeling that you're dead as the Moth is just put into the flame. Mystic trying to do some sort of relevant damage to Rascal, but I'm sorry, sir, you do not have enough of those items yet. And the inner turret is going to be taken topside as a result.
Yeah. Team desperately trying to be proactive, search out for vision, but you can't really do that at this stage of the game. The Baron's available. I think Gen.G Can just turn onto it, take it away, and then move over 2 minutes later to their Infernal Soul. As Afreeca, will they even show us one fight? As currently they're getting perfect games. And I don't think there was even a turret play that was taken.
Nope, they did not take
So
a turret play.
this might be the perfect game.
We might get the perfectest game.
The most perfectest of games might
I mean,
happen
for
here.
it to be the ultra perfect game is that you need to have taken all of the turret plates as well.
True, yeah.
And we did see T1 do that last year when plates first came out. It was in the Kesper Cup, I believe. As yeah, Keem was just tossed around like a ragdoll and destroyed in that particular fight, but not a lot that he can do, as the Forbidden Book has been completed by Fly. Oh, that's going to be great. Now you're going to stop all of Clid's healing while he's running out of the fight.
Great, yeah.
I mean, Ruler does have a lot of sustain, to be fair, and Tom Kench does heal a lot himself, so it's not the worst item choice. But at this stage, where you really just need flat damage stats on the Orianna.
I agree. Infinity Edge would have been a worse item choice. Morellonomicon was not the worst.
I mean, yes, that is true. That is true. I'd prefer Morellonomicon to a Redemption at this stage.
Yeah, yeah, it's another good choice. And see BDD, just gonna go for a bit of split push. He has the Ground Skyfall plus TP. Get a bit of damage on in there as well.
That's a snap. Fly going to get flashed on here by Clid. He wants to just kill him, but he's not going to be able to. Dawning Shadow flies across, only lands onto Spirit. Now Rascal is going to find the Showstopper onto Mystic. He flashes over the wall, though, as Keen comes in, but oh god! Mystic just obliterated, pummeled in the end of that fight. Clid grabs himself another kill, as now Keen trying to World Ender his way out of it, but base gates or not, you are not getting away from this Gen.G squad. Dissonance does a paltry amount of damage to BDD, as now they're going to tactics some minions towards this inhibitor turret, and this game is so over, it's unbelievable. 8-0, the perfect game is upon us in game number 3. Gen.G, they lost out in game number 1, but that seemed to have only made them stronger as this series went on.
They're going to back away. They can literally do anything in this game and win. And they're going to decide, let's win with the Infernal Soul. Don't get to see it all too often. The second Spirit gets caught here, you know that the fight is going to be fought on Gen.G's terms. And whenever that's the case and you're over 10,000 gold ahead, you might as well say goodnight, sweet prince, and exit the game, as it was just super messy. Everybody getting junked left and right. Spirit not able to do anything, as it's what happens when the enemy team gets this unbelievably far ahead, and now they have Infernal Soul.
Yeah. Okay, 5.5 minutes until the Elder Drake is on the Rift, but look, spoiler alert, guys, I don't think the game is going to last that long, as we have over a 10,000 gold lead at 27 minutes in. The Baron looking like it's on the menu here for Gen.G, but they're probably just going to use it to bait Afreeca out of their base, as Ruler spots out that ward, and will be able to take that one down very comfortably with the help of his Umbral Glaive. And yeah, maybe we'll just go for a siege and try and take down the second inhibitor of the game, as Spirit is going to get healed up with the Zoomies. Clid, oh, better buy that Morellonomicon to avoid
big
those
mistake.
Zoomies heals. But now Gen.G are going to say that the Baron doesn't have a Morellos, so they're going to jump in and try and take him down instead. No healing available for you, sir. And I don't think that this is going to be contestable on the Afreeca side.
They might
Rascal's
try.
in the mid lane. They might just try for a flank there, but Ruler clears out vision where he can. They do know that this is going down, and Afreeca are going to try and get in there. We'll see whether the turn is going to come forward. As Showstopper just to try and get Spirit out of the pit, and the Baron is taken. Dawning Shadow flies across, and Rascal goes golden. There's the man drop as Fly is going to hula hoop the ultimate on top of himself. I think that was the first shockwave that we've seen so far, and it did absolutely nothing.
Well, that's the icing on the cake right there, Atlas. A good old hula hoop for the very much clown fiesta we had in this one. 13-0, Infernal Soul, double Baron.
That's a perfect game, my friends.
Perfect game comes in as Gen.G are going to take the 2-1.
Well, if you wanted to get some vengeance for losing that game number 1, there is probably no better way to do it than a game like that. Just a masterclass. Clid popping off in the jungle. His Lee Sin left a little bit to be desired in game number 1, but the Jarvan was clean, and the Echo first time in the LCK in the jungle for 2020, and he makes it look like a completely overpowered pick. Love it.
Sounds about right for Clid, and the way that Gen.G are playing right now, they're really rolling so nicely here in 2020 to the point where it feels like they can kind of play anything and be unstoppable. It happens from time to time where they drop games, but then they swiftly wake up, and then it looks like a totally different team. If they can just be a little bit more, I don't know, awake for their first game, might help them out in terms of their overall game record.
It's more practice. You get more practice on stage.
That's
if you
really
play all
smart.
3 games
Really
every single
smart.
time. And now, like we were talking about before, Gen.G will even out the scoreline up against T1, but T1 will retain their first place position given the head-to-head in their first matchup, which was a victory for T1. I believe the only loss that Gen.G have suffered so far this season. They've taken down Dragon X, Humble Life, Dumb1 Gaming, Griffin, and KT. And now Afreeca is going to join those ranks. We'll see who their next victim is going to be. I believe APK Prince is later on this week. T1 with a little bit more of a challenge in their next match, if I am not otherwise mistaken, but we'll see exactly how it is going to go. Just for now, we need to congratulate Gen.G on turning around what was a very difficult game number 1 into smashing games 2 and 3.
Definitely looked like a different team out there for games 2 and 3, as did Afreeca. I felt like they played so much better in game 1 compared to games 2 and 3 in the drafts as well.
Yeah.
Looked cleaner in game 1, so kind of disappointing there. Kind of like the Afreeca of old, where they were the best game 1 team, and then it was like, what happened? And then they would just lose.
You can take all of the players out of Afreeca, but apparently it's still the same Afreeca. It doesn't actually matter. I mean, a lot of them went over to KT, and KT were also pretty good at winning game 1s at the beginning of the season. Now they're actually winning series, as we have seen. As we check out some of these highlights, this is what happens when you have Pantheon and Echo. But what Gen.G did was utilize all of the strengths that their composition had so beautifully in the early stages of the game to give themselves an insurmountable lead. And while Afreeca did have a composition that was going to be able to get to 3 items and do stuff, they weren't allowed to.
The highlights, there wasn't a single positive Afreeca highlight in this game. It was just diving turrets, taking names.
They didn't get anything. They got 0 objectives this game. It was a perfect game from Gen.G.
They didn't even have a real team fight, ever. There was nothing that Afreeca had in that game. It was all Gen.G's.
There was 1 shockwave that game, and it hit 0 people. That's what this game was.
Yeah.
As Fly couldn't quite find an opportunity to use it. Maybe if he used it there, it might have been better. Maybe he had a few chances. Okay. I don't think he used it in that fight, though. So odd. Maybe it was on cooldown. Not entirely sure. As we're going to hear some of the comms for Gen.G as Rascal just somehow surviving for 15 years and able to kill a jungler at the same time. Yeah, that was the embarrassing shockwave. Money teleports, and the game is over. And guys, I don't want to spoil it for you, but Clid's going to win the player of the game.
That he will. That he should.
You can hear some sighs of relief. You can tell that
Lots of nice uses as well.
Lots of nice uses. Oh god, 800 damage.
Oh no!
Did Spirit sub in? I'm not entirely
It's
sure.
not 623, but it is 800.
Do you want to? What's 13,000 damage divided by 800?
You're asking the wrong guy.
13,000 divided by 800 is going to be the amount of times more damage.
It's probably like
Clid
20 times.
Yeah.
No, it's like 16 to 17 times.
Yeah, it's a
like
big
that.
number, dude.
Yeah.
It's a big number.
It's a lot more times.
Does the collective have a number for us? Have you guys pulled out a calculator? Come on, collective.
Yeah.
Where are you?
Well, Clid is going to pick it up 603, 500 points.
32.9% of his team's damage, very similar to BDD's contribution, but he's a jungler. Just insane amounts of control. It's like 20 times, 16.25 times. You are absolutely right.
There you
Nail on
go.
the head. And that is a lot more damage than Screw. 16 times the damage of his opponent.
Yeah, it's not really
Jeez.
supposed to happen.
Nope.
And their comp maybe was just a little bit too plain. They got read like a book. They knew exactly how to play against it and shut it down real easy. No POG interview.
Nope.
Feels bad.
We're not going to see it, but would have been nice to have another conversation with Clid and BDD, who seem to be the ones that get the MVPs for Gen.G. In this season. It used to be a lot of ruler for Gen.G when they were winning, but not the case this time, as it does say Gen.G is in the lead at the moment, but that's not actually the case given the fact that they lost the head-to-head with T1. However, Afreeca are slowly but surely moving down these rankings. They're going to need to pull themselves back up again after some disappointing losses against both KT and now Gen.G. DragonX also, they're going to have to try and put some distance between themselves and Afreeca and the rest of the pack, as we are going to see our 3-3 teams after about a 30-minute break, guys. Hanwha Life versus Damwon. Two very interesting squads at the moment, to be honest, because Hanwha managed to take down T1 as the only team to beat T1 so far this season, and Damwon Gaming have been struggling. They lost to Sandbox, and then Sandbox lost to KT. What does it mean?
It means that Hanwha Life should be favored going into that matchup, so
Well,
it should be fun.
Yep, gonna go to a break. We'll be back at 8:20 KST. We'll see you then.